Good morning, dear friends and my students. Today we are going to talk about the world after the Second World War II. And then we are going to deal with that, what are the events that has taken place in the history of the world. And the first concept we are going to talk about, Chinese Revolution. Before going to the topic, let's see what was the situation of the world after the Second World War. It was the beginning of the decline of European colonies and imperialism in the world. As the World War I led to the Communist Revolution of Russia, so also the World War II led to the Communist Revolution in China. What was the situation of the world at the time? The world was divided into between the two superpowers. The one is US and the second one is USSR. Now, what was the competition among them? US won the trust and the great power in Europe, whereas Soviet Russia earned the goodwill of Asia and Africa. And at the same time, there were also countries who are called as the third country. The first country is the US, and the second country is the USSR, and the third countries, they are all the other who are called as the neutral, and they are grouped here, they are grouped under the non-alignment policy. What is this non-alignment policy is for? This non-alignment policy is neither they are on the side of US nor on the side of USSR, and they are fighting for peace, harmony and unity among the countries. To avoid US power and the rule of superpower of USSR, there emerged a European movement in the form of European Council, which developed from the common market that came into be a European Union. So this is what the situation after the World War II. Now we are going to talk about the first topic, the Chinese Revolution. What was the situation of China? When you talk about China, it was more advanced than that of the Europe civilization. Then why are we talking about the development revolution after the Second World War? Because the Manchu rule, which ruled them for so many years, since about 1650, ruled them with the same monotonous method. They had the bureaucracy method of ruling, that is by the scholars and officials. They are called as mandarins. The mass peasants, laborers, workers, they were poverty-stricken, suffered from high rents, high taxes, storage of land, and these resulted in the Tapping Rebellion in the year 1850 to 1864. About 20 million people died. European had a pressure on China to open its market to all the foreign countries. On the other side, there was another type of war that was called as the Opium Wars. You would all listen in the classes about the Opium War. Opium means it is a drug. The European gold was stored or given in the Chinese storage, and they bought various types of products from them. When they felt that all their resources, all this wealth was stored in China, they want to get back, they found a chance or method how to get back. So they used this method of cultivating this tobacco, the crop in India, and sold it in China, and they got in return in gold. So the Chinese fought against these types of methodology because they were very much affected by this, because so many people started use of drugs and they lost their wealth in the hands of Europeans. So they started a war which is called as the Opium War. So there were two types of Opium War which took place in 1832 and 1848. Then came the Reformation. The well-educated, the Western intellectuals showed the hatred towards the foreign countries. In 1898, the young emperor initiated a series of reforms known as 100 Days of Reforms. But she also had an opposition that was from the Empress Dus Sui. A Manchu government lasted until 2 years before the First World War. So this was the situation in the China in the pre-war period. What happened afterwards? They started to have the revolution in 1911. So the topic is the Chinese Revolution in 1911. When the Manchu ruler, Empress Dowager, passed away in 1908, the whole of Manchu dynasty collapsed, disintegrated. The new emperor, a little one, nearly 2-year-old boy, became an emperor. So you should know the situation, how they would have managed to bring the empire under this small emperor. At the same time, there were also so many middle class leaders began to assert their independence. One among them was Sun Yat-sen. So if you look into the content, there are some of the great leaders coming under this order. Dr. Sun Yat-sen, Yuan Shikai, and then we talked about Chiang Kai-shek, and another one was Mao. So these are the nearly 4 leaders we are going to talk about in the revolution of China. The first one we are going to talk about is Sun Yat-sen. Dr. Sun Yat-sen was in various studies, he has gone away, but when he came to Shanghai, when he arrived, he was immediately elected by the people as the president of the new Chinese Republic. But Yuan Shikai had a full control of the modern army. So army was under the Yuan, whereas the power was in Sun Yat-sen. Yuan Sheikh succeeded in persuading those responsible for the ascension of the young emperor. So he comes to the power. So what are we going to talk here? During this time, 4 years of rule, it was clear that Yuan was opposed to both democracy at the same time Republican. So Sun Yat-sen was a Kuomintang National Republic. On the other side, we are going to talk about Shikai, okay, Yuan Shikai, on the other side, communist. Yuan lost prestige in the eyes of nationalists when he agreed to demand to Japan to have a economic control Manchuria and Shanghai. So he had a collaboration, he had an agreement with Japan. So the nationalists under the leadership of Sun Yat-sen had aversion, or they had a misunderstanding between them. So on one side Dr. Sun Yat-sen, on the other side we have Yuan Shikai. Now both of them, so the nationalists, on the other side communists. So this was the situation. On the death in 1916, a new president was appointed for the next 12 years. So on the death of Yang in 1916, the another president was appointed. During this period of anarchy, Marxist ideas in the north of China, on the other side, Sun Yat's activities in the coast cities between Shanghai and Canton. Now Communist Party started to develop from Russia. So we are going to talk about by the revolution ideas of Confucius was sidelined and after Russian Revolution 1917 to 23, the ideas of Marx and Lenin prevailed and it became subject in the universities of Mao was a student. A communist idea which developed separating or removing the ideas of Confucius. So they started to develop the teachings of Marx in the universities. So one among the students is Mao. Sun Yat-sen sought Russian support, but Russia sent Michael Bodin and built a revolutionary army over there. Zhou Enlai formed alliance between Chinese Communist Party and Kuomintang. So the Communist Party as well as the National Party, both of them were united by Zhou Enlai, who was a person who was uniting these two parties in China. We are going to talk about Sun Yat-sen, who brought about the nation, has now given the Kuomintang and the Chiang Kai-shek. The Whampoa Military Academy, that is a revolution army which was developed by the Michael Bodin, who was called from Russia, was founded. First director was Chiang Kai-shek. So he was appointed. Chiang Kai-shek became the leader of Kuomintang, which was developed by Sun Yat-sen. After the death of Sun Yat-sen, organized a communist line, but not the policies. So he followed in the method of communist line, but followed the policies of nationalists, that is a Kuomintang. Criticism has been asserted, admitted, started publicly among the people on communists. So Chiang removed all the communists from the party and their position. He removed all communities in the Kuomintang party. The communists increased their influence among the workers, peasants, and obtained recruits for their army. And the Kuomintang represented the interests of the landlords and capitalists more and more to gather the support. And this was the time the Mao, who was developed, who has brought about, educated under the Marxist ideology, is coming forward to the power. Neglected by the Kuomintang party in the rule, the communists reacted into, they went away from the city to the wild mountains, where they stayed for nearly 7 years. And Kuomintang, which was under the rule of Chiang Kai, they started to attack both these Maoist party. On the other side, they were also in fight with Japan, and they could not compensate, balance the situation. So they left the Maoists their own party, that is what called as the Peasants Party, and then they moved towards Japan and they attacked. So when we talk about they neglected by the Kuomintang party and communists retreated into the wild mountains, where they stayed for the next 7 years. Could not manage the situation between the attack on communists, that is the Maoists, and against the other party, the counter threat of Japan on the other side. So at this situation, Mao is taking a lead, that we are going to talk about the Long March in 1934. What is this Long March is actually? A Long March, a group of people, that is nearly 1 lakh people were gathered under the leadership of Chiang Kai-shek, and then they started to move towards the headquarters around 6,000 miles. So Chiang Kai-shek had built a circle of fortified posts around the communist position, and by 1933 Mao had gained full control of Chinese Communist Party. So Mao is the leader of the Communist Party at present. And in 1934, after becoming a leader in 1933, in 1934, with the people around 1 lakh, they gathered and marched towards local wars, and by the unified tribesmen, okay, nearly 20,000 finally reached in 1935 the Chinese province, while developing Manchuria as the military base. By 1937, Mao had become the leader over 10 million people. So, to summarize this long march 1934, Chiang Kai-shek became the Communist Party member. In 1933, he gained a full control. In 1934, he gathered around 1 lakh people and marched around 6,000 miles, and in 1935, he reached the final destination. In 1937, Mao became the leader of Communist Party, over 10 million people. So already we talked about the communists fighting against the Japanese. So the topic comes here, Japanese aggression. Japanese interest in taking over Korea led to the aggression against China, which was weak backward. So China was already weak under the communist power, under the rule of Russian ideology. So they were very weak and backward. Japan continued to occupy North China provinces while developing Manchuria and the military base. So Japan has come from the east towards the west and captured the northern part of China, the Manchuria, and then towards, it is coming towards the southern part, southeastern part. And Japan is occupied the whole of eastern half of China. So they occupied the eastern part of China, as the Kuomintang armies were not strong enough. Why the Kuomintang army was not strong enough? Because they were concentrating on the communists on one side. That is, we talked about the Maoists, they were trying to attack. On the other side, we also talked about the Japanese. They were giving a lot of torture to the Chinese. So the communists could not, the Kuomintang could not tolerate with the Japanese. So when they could not pay attention to both sides, Japanese progressed in attacking towards China and conquered. Now at this situation, at this juncture, Communist Party is coming to victory. How? With the surrender of Japanese in 1945 to US, both Kuomintang and the communists sought to occupy Japanese area. The country Japanese, which was weak, backward, how could they able to conquer, even attack or get back even the power of Japanese? US is a powerful country which we are going to talk about. US, which was having a strong military power, already we talked in the Second World War, US was against Japan's power. In 1945, by attacking Japan and destroying it with the atomic bombs, it made Japan to surrender itself. And here the situation comes how Chinese conquered from the Japanese by the support of US. But the soldiers mainly drawn from peasants. So the Communist Party, which was under the Mao's leader, here they draw from only peasants, were disillusioned and discontented. Mao was keen on obtaining the support of the middle class. So communists not only for the people of peasants or laborers and all, he is also going towards the middle class. So he declared a concept. The communists wanted the rule of the people, not the dictatorship or the proletariat, the end of exploitation, not absolute equality. So the concept of this idea by the Mao developed more enthusiastic, energetic ideas among the people. So Mao continued the use of guerrilla tactics. Cities fell one by one under Chiang Kai-shek's army, who was the head, began to disintegrate quickly. In summer 1948, communist control had been established over the most part of China. So communists came to the power. They got a victory over Japanese, got victory over the nationalists in China. The National People's Congress. In September 1948, the People's Political Consultative Conference met in Peking, consisting over 650 delegates from Communist Party and other left-wing organizations. The conference elected the Central Governing Council with the Mao as its chairman. There were now two mighty communist powers. Can you say which was the first communist power in the world? That is USSR. Now next to USSR, the second mighty communist power in the world, that is People's Republic of China. Though China came to power with the People's Republic, but they could not be a member, they were not recognized as a republic. Why? The United States refused to recognize the People's Republic of China for more than 2 decades. Instead, the same US, the government of Chiang Kai-shek in Taiwan and Formosa was given recognition due to the pressure of US. Why? Taiwan, Formosa, which was under the Chiang Kai-shek, was a nationalist power, whereas the People's Republic of China was under the communist power. So US was not in support of encouraging the communist power in the world. So it neglected in or refused in accepting Republic of China as a country, a republic country. Along with that, we are going to develop another concept which is called as Cold War. So a small concept is given here. Let's see what is this Cold War. Please pay attention. The rivalry that developed after the World War II between US and the USSR. The rivalry which developed after the World War II between US and USSR and their respective allies created tension which is referred to as Cold War. So we talked about the World War I, we talked about the World War II, and in between we also talked about so many wars. In the same way, after the World War II, the war took place between the superpowers, two superpowers, that is US and USSR, are known as the Cold War. Now this Cold War was first coined by the English writer George Orwell in 1945. Now in this Cold War, what was the mentality, what was the idea of these two superpowers? Let us bring the concept. The first one, it is US ideas, policies. What is the first policy? A tremendous policy of containment and communism. In 1947, the United States said that it would help any nation which resists communism in order to prevent its spread. So what is the promise here of the US? Is to support any nation which is resisting, keeping away the communism entering into, will be getting a lot of help and support from the US. This was the first policy. The Truman, the president of US, pursued the policy of containment of communism, that is the Soviets keen on spreading the communists worldwide. So the communism was spread worldwide by Russia. On the other side, US is trying to protect or resist this spreading over the world. The second plan was the Marshall Plan. What was the Marshall Plan? The idea of Marshall Plan is to help the countries of Europe, because you should have a knowledge about the Europe after the World War II was divided into two. Okay, one on the Eastern Europe, another on the Western Europe. The Eastern Europe was taken by Russia and the southern part was taken by US. In the Western Europe and the northern part we talk about Britain, and the southern part was taken by France. Now all these countries were conquering this particular Europe. To help the countries of Europe with American dollars to facilitate their early recovery from this destruction caused in the Second World War. So Marshall has promised that he will help the people, he will help the countries to come out of the bad situation or affected situation from the World War II. So these are the two policies which was brought during the time of the Cold War. And we are going to develop another topic, formation of military alliance. Very important concept. US alone cannot show its own power. So it is trying to join the other countries along to it. On the other side, US is also trying. But the country's economy and various policies alone will not help. They should increase the army, they should increase the power. So they made a lot of agreement between the countries. So that's what we are going to talk about, the military alliance among the countries. The first one we are going to talk about NATO, that is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. What is this NATO is for? Already we talked about US is trying to resist the spread of communism from Russia to various other countries. To protect, to resist, to keep away, it should have an army. That is what this NATO is. So we are going to talk about what was the aim of this NATO. To resist Soviet aggression in Europe. So you should not come away from the Russian boundary. That's the first concept. The second one is the interstate military alliance between the countries of North America and Europe. So it is also strengthening the power of the army of both Europe and America against this Russian power. The chief objectives was peace and security. So it is more or less is a contrast. One side, they want to bring peace and unity among the countries, security for the countries. On the other side, they also want to show their power by military alliance. So the member agreed that an armed attack against any one of them would considered as aggression against all members of NATO. So NATO was organized a military alliance between America and Europe, Western Europe. The second part is It is also for the peace and security of the country. And the third concept is very, very important, the main objectives they have given. If any one of the country attacks the member of, any one of the member of NATO, it is it is considered to attack all the countries of NATO. So, they are trying to show their military alliance power by NATO, that is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. There also emerged another formation of military alliance, that is SEATO, the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization. What is this for? US is not only concentrating on Europe, it is also concentrating on all the countries that the USSR should not spread its own communist power over. So it is also coming towards Asia. It was organized for the collective security of the countries in Southeast Asia. They were committed to prevent communism from gaining ground in the region of Southeast Asia. They did not join the commands with a standing force like NATO. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, had its own the standing force, but SEATO did not have. There is only difference. The difference between NATO and SEATO was the standing force was there in NATO, whereas that was not in the SEATO. So, but both of them were under or in the unity or the combination of US. So, what is the reaction of Russia, USSR? What was the reaction of USSR? So, it should also show its own power. So, it started with the Warsaw Pact. What is this Warsaw Pact? It is a counter to the NATO. What was NATO is for? It is a military alliance among the countries which were against the communists. So here the Warsaw Pact is organized against the NATO. The Soviet bloc countries for united military action. So which were the Soviets? So we talked about Russia and the eastern part of Russia, Germany, also coming under this Warsaw Pact. A joint command of armed force of the member countries with its headquarters in Moscow was set up. So, US started with the military alliance and it had an effect in USSR starting another military alliance, which is Warsaw Pact. There was another, the fourth one, CENTO, or it is also called as the Baghdad Pact. The situation, the Arab nations, when you talk about the Egypt, when you talk about Turkey, Iraq, Arabia, the Arab countries started to, they desired peace and security in the region, among those regions. In 1955, Turkey, Iraq, Great Britain, Pakistan, Iran signed a pact known as the Baghdad Pact. So among these Arab nations, they want to have a unity, they want to have a security, they want to have a peace, so they started to have a unity among them by this movement called Baghdad Pact. But by the intervention of US, the name is changed into a Central Treaty Organization. In 1958, United States joined the organization which was started by the Arab nation. It came to be known as Central Treaty Organization. So these are the organizations developed. The first organization we talked about, NATO. The second organization we talked about SEATO, and the third organization we talked about Warsaw Pact, and the fourth one we talked about CENTO. Now the situation comes to the expenditure of both the sides. After the World War, which had the great destruction, which brought over a lot of death, lot of loss of resources in the World War, the people thought the world will be at peace. But these two superpowers, US and USSR, started another Cold War. It did not stop the World War, and it increased and developed into the Cold War. The military expenditure on both the sides kept increasing, continued from the World War II. America had used the nuclear bomb against Japan in 1945. The conflict between the two sides, US and USSR, led to many international crises, many problems after the end of World War II. Both the sides, both the powers, US and USSR, encouraged intellectuals to promote their own views, their own ideas towards these movements. Bernard Roosevelt called for nuclear disarmament because everyone knew the nuclear power, nuclear bombs can destroy the whole world. So at last, the Bernard Roosevelt brings about the nuclear disarmament idea towards these two superpowers. So just to recap whatever we have learnt in this class, just from the beginning, we talked about the situation of China before the war, the communist power of Russia, which developed after the World War I. Chinese communist power developed after the World War II. The Chinese Revolution, the pre-war, so they developed, so they were under the power of various, the Manchu rules, they did not come up, they were very weak, they were very poor, and so many revolutionaries came about. So we talked about Sun Yat-sen, we talked about Chiang Yans, we talked about Chiang Kai-shek, and we talked about Mao. All these revolutionaries developed their own ideas and powers to bring this China as an independent, a republic one. And it became by the communist power of Mao. And it was not recognized by US because it was the communist power. And the second one, we talked about the Cold War. The Cold War, the war which started after the Second World War to show its own power between the US and USSR. And we continued, it developed the military alliance. There are 4 types of alliance we talked about. Whatever might be, the two superpowers, though there was security and peace among the world, but they continued to bring lot of disadvantages to the world, destruction to the world. There was lot of loss of life and property in the world. And when they asked for so many intellectuals' ideas, they came about the nuclear power disarmament. Nuclear disarmament. Thank you.